After fighting in North Africa and before fighting on the Kokoda Track, Anzac troops fought a little-known campaign in Lebanon during World War II. Their task was to occupy Lebanon and Syria, driving out pro-German Vichy French troops who were defending the former French protectorates.
The Lebanon hills make a natural defence. Foreign Legion and French regulars fight well.
It was a campaign that led to Lebanese independence and a unique connection between Australia and the modern state of Lebanon. For the Nassar family, who migrated to Australia from Lebanon in the 1970s, it's a special relationship, and one they celebrate in their family restaurant in the New South Wales town of Cooma.
Not only have the Anzacs played a part in the war for protecting our country here in Australia, but also protecting and looking after a country that they absolutely had no significance with or even ties with.
Tony Nassar found out about the Anzac connection when the family returned to visit their homeland in 1988.
We travelled to our village in Hasroun, which is in North Lebanon in the mountains where I was born, and walking through the streets with my grandfather, he was telling me a story about the only thing he knew about Australia, and that was meeting the Anzacs back in World War II.
Hasroun is within sight of the famous Cedars of Lebanon. For a brief few months during World War II, the Australian Army took over a disused chalet there to train soldiers for fighting in snow country.
This is mixing sport with soldiering, and the ski battalion becomes the envy of the AIF.
The story my grandfather was telling me was about meeting these soldiers who were just happy and actually shared a can of beer with him. And it wasn't until recently, now that we opened up a restaurant, that I thought I'd like to put something together to show recognition towards those soldiers and for the story that my grandfather told me. And I call it the Drunken Soldier. And what the Drunken Soldier is a combination of the sponge fingers, which have been used in the Mediterranean and in the Middle East as a tiramisu style dessert. But the next layer is where it becomes different, and that's where I use the Anzac biscuits. So you get your sponge fingers, and you begin by just lightly soaking them in the liquid. Now this liquid is a secret recipe, so unfortunately I can't give that out today. Only two of us know the recipe, myself and the next of kin. And this is where the liqueur is based. So there's 5 different liqueurs that we start off with, hence getting the name Drunken Soldier. Not many people know about the soldiers in Lebanon, but it's a story I wanted to tell. And what a nicer way to do than to bring a cake together, that I could bring sort of the Australian influence of the Anzacs with the Middle Eastern influence of the sponge. And of course the liqueurs, because my grandfather kept telling me about these happy soldiers, or they wouldn't use the term drunken, but they were quite happy and handing out beer, so I thought what a great way to remember them. So the next layer in tradition of a tiramisu, you would continue with more sponge fingers, but this is where the Anzac biscuits come in. I think it'd be a nice sort of traditional cake to have on Anzac Day. Very easy to make. And then we put a little bit of cling wrap over the top, and we'll take that to the fridge and we'll cook it away in the fridge.
This Lebanese Australian Anzac dessert has just one last step.
And just when we thought there wasn't enough alcohol, we have another specially prepared butterscotch snap sauce that I've put together. Now the alcohol is burnt off on this one, so it's all about the flavours. And then we soak it in this liqueur, and then just some crushed up Anzacs to top it off. And here we have the Drunken Soldier.